just ask you, how was everything out there this morning? Everyone looking healthy and good to go?
Yeah, we're really excited for a big game. Always exciting when you know you're going to get a big crowd at the MCG against good opposition. And it's a really good time slot for Geelong people too. I think they appreciate the twilight spot on a Saturday. So we're really hopeful that all of our supporters, as many as possible, can get to the game. It's one not to be missed, and we're excited.
Pretty special round as well, obviously ANZAC Day weekend. I saw the special Guernsey that the guys are going to be wearing. What does it sort of mean to you to play sort of ANZAC Day round each year, and how much does it mean sort of personally to yourself?
Look, I think more broadly than that, I just think it's the football in general. So not just the AFL and the administration, and not just the clubs, but the broader industry's done a great job of recognising ANZAC Day and celebrating the round. You know, it is obviously a time to look back, and you know, I think we've moved a long way from the idea of celebrating war, but we do celebrate the sacrifice that have been made on our behalf, and I think it is something that you know, in the football sense that we can get excited about by, you know, sort of embracing the weekend. It's not just ANZAC Day itself, but it's all the games across the weekend, and I think the football public seems to love it. Big games at the MCG, ANZAC weekend, you know, they're huge occasions, and it's a privilege to be a part of it.
Chris, was it cut and dried that Cam Guthrie would come straight into the AFL team after not playing at AFL for 12 months?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a bit. It sounds good, doesn't it? 12 months, but the reality is he had a flawless pre-season. He only played the first 20 seconds or so of the first practice game, but he was back running, you know, within a week of that injury, and we've deliberately held him back. He's been in full training for well over a month, with a plan to get him straight back into the AFL team. So it's been a well thought through process, and this has been the plan all along. Again, you could say, yeah, he hasn't played AFL football for a long time, but that would be kind of ignoring the pre-season and the preparation he's had over the last 6 weeks in particular.
A lot of emotion with him sort of coming back. Do you sort of feel good as a coach seeing him healthy now and playing AFL footy again after everything he's been through?
Yeah, it's exciting. It's really good for the team. It's good for him, but it's probably not. To my observation, it's going to be a little bit of a change for other people, sort of seeing him come back into the team after so long. But he's been around our training and our operation. He's a senior player. He has a big influence on the way that we think about how we play. So it's been more of a constant for us. So you know, he's slotted into our training, as I said, really nicely over the last month. So the cohesion with his teammates and all that sort of thing is something that we're confident in. So good for him, but it feels like a smaller step for us in some ways than it might appear from the outside.
How do you feel like he will complement the guys in the midfield who have been playing consistently over 6 weeks?
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, because we were clear at the start of the year that it was going to be a challenge to get all of our inside mids in particular into our team, especially with Guthrie coming back, and you know, Dangerfield got injured relatively early. So in a way it opened up some spots that wouldn't have been there otherwise, and a lot of those guys have taken that opportunity, and now we find ourselves with a bigger group of players than maybe even we thought we had at the start of the year. So as I say very regularly in this forum, we virtually never think about it in terms of who our best group is at any one point in time. We think about how that's going to evolve across the season, how we can, you know, use a big group of players. You know, even the way the sub-rule's structured at the moment, it gives you an opportunity to sort of manage workloads that way. We very rarely think about picking our best 22 and then the 23rd guy as a sub. It's a little bit more nuanced than that for us. So I think the message is we're trying to build a big group of players in there. We've got good availability now with Dangerfield and Guthrie back, but we're not just going to bring them back and push 2 or 3 players out for, you know, multiple weeks. It's more than likely that we'll kind of rotate those guys through, which we think for us works well.
They say like Stanley and Tui come back in, and you know, they were a couple of weeks ago had that rest as well. And do you feel like that is working well? That, you know, they have a rest, they come in for a few weeks? have a rest again?
Yeah, we think it's not always as seamless as we would like it to be. There are some preferences there that can't always be followed through on, but in principle, guys like Zach Tui and Tom Hawkins and Reece Stanley, who are important players in our team, but know that we're not going to play them every week, is a policy that we've had some experience with, and we think it works for us. The risk is that sometimes you can have guys out of the team for a little bit longer than you would like, and to this point of the season, there are a few exceptions, but for the most part, that's worked pretty well for us.
Chris, people look at Toby Conway's performance last week and go, geez, a bit stiff, but obviously you've got Reece coming back. How do you have those, I know you're not going to go into a private conversation, but can you explain to the supporters how those conversations with Toby do take place? Right, yeah, look, you've been really solid, but it'll be unfortunately not you this week.
Well, King, I think I've explained it a lot in this forum, but I'll go again.
Yeah.
We've been really clear publicly, and Toby's more clear about this than anyone, that we see him as a long-term player who's not yet at the point that we want to risk playing every single week at either level. So it's almost, in fact, it is certain that he's just not going to play week after week after week. He's going to be managed in terms of his workload. It's not just this year as well. If you look back, well, not just his time at the Cats, even in his junior career, it's not as if he hasn't played 20 games in a row in his life. And we are as concerned with where he's going to be in 12 months' time as to where he is right now. And it's not dissimilar to other parts of our management policy that form is one of the factors, but it's certainly not the sole factor. So Reece coming back this week, Toby will get his chance, along with Jai Clark, to play in the VFL, which they haven't actually done a lot of. I'm not sure how many times those guys have actually played together. But the VFL program is an important part of our preparation as well. So Toby will get plenty of exposure to AFL football, but it just won't be every week. So in my mind, the conversation's pretty easy. It's harder from their perspective because if we ask all our players, and I like this attitude, we're not discouraging it, they would say, I want to play in the AFL team every single week, no matter what. Our job's a little bit more complicated than that, and we tend to have the bigger picture in mind. So, I get your question, but just from my perspective, I don't really find it a challenge to explain it because we have such a strong track record with this sort of plan.
Can I ask about Tom Stewart 6 days on? How's he feeling? How's he tracking?
Well, but I don't really know what to say. Like the way I tend to look at these things is it's either going well or there's been a hiccup. And there's been no hiccup. I just want to be a little bit careful because you can sort of look at a guy and watch him train and do it and say, hey, he's going brilliantly well. I'm just not across it well enough to get into the detail, but he's working his way through the protocol without any hiccups, is my understanding.
I was going to say, I know there's a lot of depth in this squad, but was it a tough cover for him this week, just to find out who was best to step in his role? Yeah.
I'm not a huge believer in this idea that your best player goes out of the team and you just bring up another guy who's as well equipped to play the role. I think that's not being truthful. So we completely acknowledge that if there's a gap there that's going to be difficult to fill. And so we'll try to fill it by using sort of a slightly different structure and different types of personnel rather than going like for like. It's really dangerous to say we'll just bring a guy to play his role and he'll do it just as well. I think that's asking a bit too much.
So your defence this year has been the best in the competition, coming up against Carlton, who have some really, high quality key forwards as well. Do you feel like, I say with the absence of Tom as well, that that defence can kind of still stand up on Saturday and kind of face down that Carlton forward line? Yeah,
I'm optimistic that we can. Tom would have helped. He actually mentioned to me, I might have mentioned it earlier in the week, I think he's missed the last 4 times we played them. So for one reason or another, which is a bizarre stat because he hasn't missed much footy, so we haven't had the chance to throw our best defensive unit at them, which is a shame because you need your best defensive unit against not just their forwards but their overall offence. But no, we're not overconfident. We're really clear what a danger those forward half players in particular present. They're really, really good players, but it's not insurmountable. We have a lot of confidence in our overall team defence. It's a challenge, but one we're looking forward to.
And pressure as well this last season has been the key point for the Cats as well. Is that something that you guys just continue to kind of bring against, the boys?
Yeah, is that the pressure, did you say?
Yeah, pressure.
Yeah. And I think it's a good follow-up to the overall defensive system, because I think it's unlikely that their forwards would dominate any game if there was extraordinary pressure on the ball and the delivery wasn't very good. It doesn't matter whether you're Royce Hart or Charlie Curnow. You need relatively good delivery. So a big part, it's not telling anyone anything they don't know, that the pressure up the field has a big bearing on things. But conversely, we know, like if they just walk out of contested situations and deliver the ball to high quality forwards, then I'd be surprised if we were blaming our defenders.
With this squad this year, do you draw any similarities to, and I think a lot of journalists have been talking about it during the week, there's a lot of similarities to the 2022 squad at all, and do you see any resemblance in that group you had put together a couple of years ago?
A little bit, but I still feel like I remember that early part of 22 pretty well, and we played different players out of necessity. We had some injuries in the first half of the year, and inadvertently were able to manage the overall workload of some of our players and got some continuity in the back half of the year, which obviously really helped us. This year's a bit different in that the availability across the board is good. I'd prefer to be doing it this way than the 22 version, so I hesitate to say it's going better than 22. I think those comparisons from our end don't really mean that much, but what I will say is that we've got a plan that we spend a lot of time on, and at the moment, the signs are good. But we're also, if there was any hint of overconfidence, we just look at the draw, and that brings us back to earth pretty quickly, because we've got some tough games coming up, but then you look a little bit further out and you go, we've got tough games after that as well. So you just got to get the next week right, and again, make sure that we don't get to a position where we throw everything into this week and ignore what we're trying to do over the next couple of months. But I'll give you another example, sort of unprompted. Like Jed Buse hasn't played in our AFL team all year, but he will. He will come into our team at some point. That's one of the challenges that having full availability, particularly in one part of the ground, brings up. But it's nice to know that we've got a guy that we've got confidence in that can come up and broaden our squad even more.
How much more does Mitch Hardy need to do, Chris?
Well, it's probably he's doing what he can. The reality that's not spoken about probably enough in the AFL world is that you can be doing everything you can, playing really well, and the spot just doesn't open up. That's the reality. So we'll work hard to try to force that spot open for Mitch, but right at the moment he's a bit of a victim of Cam Guthrie coming back and Dangerfield coming back and a big group of players who are going well. But there's just countless examples in good AFL teams where you can be playing really well but feel like you're a long way away, and then overnight the spot opens up and you've got to be ready to take it. I think Mitch fits into that category.
Is it a bit of the Brendan Parfitt scenario too earlier in the year?
Here's one of those examples. Yeah. I mean, there's only two ways you can look at it. You can count yourself out by not playing well enough and getting really frustrated, or you can give yourself every chance if that opportunity opens up that you're in good form and ready to take it. And that's how we see Mitch at the moment.
Can you give us some words on Sam Koning's 50th game? It seems like he's actually been here for a lot longer than 50 games for what he's achieved in that short period of time.
Yeah, it does to me as well. A lot of the guys that came through in Sam's draft year it was sort of smack bang in the middle of COVID. It was a real challenge for those guys. I really think of Sam being a mainstay of our team. It sort of took me by surprise as well. When someone said he had a milestone, I was hedging more towards 100 than 50 because I don't follow those things all that closely. But he's a very young player. There's a lot of footy in front of him, but is already sort of crucial to us. No better stage. I mean, I don't know how he feels about playing against his brother. I don't bring it up with him, but I think more important than playing Carlton is that you get to play in front of a virtually sold out MCG on a Saturday afternoon. It's pretty cool.
What's the rivalry like against the brothers? Not many of us have had brothers in the AFL. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I tend to think that's a very personal and individual thing, and I'm not sure I can help by talking to him about it, so I just leave it alone.
Did you catch yesterday's draw at all? And I think there's been a lot of conversation this morning about whether or not extra time should be played and the rules should be changed. Do you have any thoughts on what happened yesterday?
I don't have a problem with the draw. I think the draw is a result. And it seemed to be, and most of the time, it is a fair reflection of the contest. I guess there's the odd occasion where one team dominates and the other one's a bit lucky to get across the line, or not get across the line, get to the line with a draw. No, I haven't got a strong opinion on it. I think, the draw in finals doesn't make sense, so they've fixed that issue. But 2 points in a home and away season, I think, is reward for something. I don't mind it, but not a strong opinion.